gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was so late. Didn't mean to stay so long.
Oh, yes, you did, Columbo. You want some silly gossip, I suppose, about Sir Roger and my wife. There's some vulgar American notion of a love triangle.
No, sir, not at all.
There's some nasty idea that poor old Roger must have been lured into town last night by Macbeth himself, perhaps. Play is rather suggestive of murder, I suppose, to impressionable minds. Lily, too bad he didn't come visiting at Christmas. You could have got him tickets to the children's pantomime.
Nicky, stop it.
I'm terribly sorry, sir. Believe me, I guess I did get carried away by those questions. But you see, I just have never seen anything like you. Like that performance you both just gave.
Thank you. I didn't mean to be nasty, old boy. No hard feelings.
And you both must be exhausted. I don't know how you do it.
With innocent, loving hearts. Good night, Lieutenant.
Well, whatever it is, it sure must be most unusual. The reason I say that is because, you know, when my wife and I try to remember what happened yesterday or the day before, well, we don't agree on anything. And you two, you not only agree, you use almost the exact same words to tell about it. Good night.
Greetings, Columbo fans, and welcome to Season 5 of the Columbo Confab podcast. That means that we've done 20 episodes so far, these suckers. Would you believe that, Steve?
Can't believe it.
That is so far. I mean, I don't recall exactly how many episodes there are in total. I know that there's somebody listening to this right now. There's 60-something, but that's a good chunk of Columbo that we've watched already.
Yeah.
Okay. Today we're going to talk about Dagger of the Mind from 1972, starring Honor Blackman and Richard Basehart. But before we do that, Columbo News. Do you want to hear some Columbo News?
Of course, lover.
Oh. Okay, first of all, Peter Falk is still dead. Second of all, according to Columbo File, the world's most popular Columbo blogger, there is still no news as to whether or not there will be a Columbo Con in New York.
Oh, yes. I was going to ask you about that. Oh. Well, off air. I was going to ask you
and
about
also, by the time that this is released, which I don't know when that will be, but we will have celebrated 50 years of Columbo.
Really?
February 20th, I think, is the 50th anniversary of Columbo. That was the date that Prescription Murder aired in 1968.
Which is a great episode.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We'll get that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that someday. We may get to it in 2 episodes, but
It's like one of my favorites. Okay, never mind. Let's
really?
keep going.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Okay. So, before we get to Dagger of the Mind, I just want to make a quick announcement. I bought this book. Okay, to my knowledge, there are only 2 Columbo books. One is called The Columbo File by Mark DeWizak. I don't know what his last name is. It's DeWizak.
Yeah.
A very good book written in the late 80s that has a synopsis of each episode, his critique on it, and also as much background information that he can tell about the production of the episode. Very good book, but it's out of print, and you can only get it for $100 and some. Oh
my God.
On eBay. Okay, I happen to have a copy, and if I ever need, I don't know, crack, I'll probably go out and pawn it or something. But there has been another book published. This one is called Columbo Under Glass. This is written by a fellow named Sheldon Katz. Mm-hmm. And just when you think that you are the person and or that you're watching too much Columbo and spending too much time.
Impossible.
Yeah. This fellow, this Mr. Katz, has written a book. It's not about the production of Columbo necessarily, but about things like the different types of clues. He actually classifies clues. There's first clues, like the closing clue that always ends the episode. He actually has a chart describing each episode and how the murder was committed in each episode. Motives. things of that nature. The
That's
actual
really fascinating,
substance of the
because
story.
One of the things we always discuss is when does Columbo figure out who the murderer is? And I bet you that kind of information's in there.
Yes, he does that. He does have that kind of information in here. The only objection, I think, maybe, is that he doesn't break it down by episode. Instead, he just breaks it down by topics. So, this chapter is going to be about accomplices. This one is going to be about second victims, things like that, of which we have one in the episode that we're going to talk about today. So I think it's fascinating. Sheldon Katz, you can pick this up on Amazon probably. It's published by Bear Manor Media, and I think it's a fascinating read. Not something that you would read starting in page 1 all the way to the last page, but more of a reference book, I think, at least for me. So yeah. So okay. So do you want to talk about Dagger of the Mind?
Yes, lover. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can't. After watching this episode, I picked up so many British slangs and words that I'm sorry.
Oh, of course.
Was
No
it
problem.
odd? Was it odd that Lily would say that just randomly to people?
Lover. Well, actually, when I worked at FedEx Kinko's, there was an English lady that came in and she called me lovely. Okay, thank you, lovely. Thank you, lovely. Thank you.
Not lover.
Or maybe it was lovey. Thank you, lovey.
Mr. Howell.
What?
Mr. Howell would call Mrs. Howell lovely.
Oh, he would?
Yeah, was it lovely or
Maybe
lovey?
it was lovey.
No, lovey, yeah. Different show.
Did you?
Sorry.
I just found out that Mr. Howell, that actor, is the voice of Mr. Magoo.
Yes.
I did
Jim
not realize
Backus.
that.
Backus?
Jim Backus. Yeah, Backus. Jim Backus.
So,
anyway.
Dagger of the Mind takes place in London. Kind of nice, I guess, away from the U.S. I'm not sure. I completely understand why Columbo is there. Like, they talk about he's a special guest. But why? Did I miss something? Like, what's the special guest of?
I think they just wanted to do, maybe somebody was John Nathan Turner was on the staff and said, I know, pack your bags, we're going to London. And they were definitely on location in London, in case you missed it. I think they let us know.
Well, there were
hit us
certain
over the head.
Yeah, certain scenes. Throughout watching this, I would wonder what was on location and what was back in Universal Studios. I would assume all the exteriors were UK, interiors were all
absolutely
US based.
But I think it probably wasn't filmed on Universal. It was probably filmed like at Ealing Studios or something, because it would have been expensive to fly all those actors over to Los Angeles when they were in. Oh wait, yeah, no, all the actors are English, which doesn't mean that they live in London, but.
Well, no, there's English actors in the U.S. that,
yeah,
I think like Sergeant O'Keefe, I think he is based in the UK.
Okay.
Because all his scenes are exteriors. You never see him inside. And you only see him at the very beginning when he picks up Columbo and at the end.
And Superintendent Dirk as well.
No, I think he's based in the... You don't think he's based in the U.S.?
No, he's in the UK because there's shots. Remember, he's sightseeing with Columbo at one point.
Well, yeah. I mean, they could have flown him out, I think. But I don't know. He was in a lot of other shots, other scenes with the other actors. So, I don't know. But I recognize him from like Bewitched. Wasn't he in Bewitched?
Yes, he was. He was on Bewitched. He was. Yes, he was.
I don't know. Dr. Bombay.
He was on. He was in the movie Titanic. Actually, I think that was one of his last movies before he died. He's also in another Columbo episode. I'm going to talk about the actors here. Our murderous couple. Well, first of all, I'm going to talk about something that kind of stuck in my craw in the opening credits.
Okay.
There are two. This is a double murderer episode, of which there are only two. The other one is Columbo Goes to College. I mean, there's other murders where there's two murderers, but one always kills the other. This is like a true double murderer episode, and it's Honor Blackman, and plays Lillian Stanhope, and Richard Basehart plays her husband, Nicholas Frame. They're Shakespearean actors. Now, in the opening credits, you know, you have Columbo, Dagger of the Mind, you know, the London's, you know, skyline. Mm-hmm. And then we have starring Richard Basehart, Wilfred Hyde White, Bernard Fox, and then special guest star Honor Blackman. Okay, that really irritated me because I think Honor Blackman should be first or second in the credits along with Richard Basehart because they're the fucking murderers. Why is she a special guest star? That kind of stuck on my craw. You know, I'm not one of these people who's a feminist.
If we jump ahead about halfway through the episode, there's a scene where Columbo goes to a club, a gentleman's club, and he says, "Oh, this place is terrific." And I think the I don't know, the guy who's working there says, that's why we keep the ladies out. So yeah. Maybe it had something to do with that. I don't know.
I don't think it. I think it was just nobody. You know, I mean, at this time, Richard Basehart. Have you heard of this guy before?
I can't think of the name. No.
Okay. Neither did I. In fact, I didn't know his name before we watched it for this, and I've seen this episode before. He was in the movies Being There. He was in Moby Dick. He played Ishmael. Have you ever seen Being There?
No.
Steve, we got to have you watch more movies. When we're done watching
and
Columbo
this is who?
episodes. Richard Basehart, the murderer. The guy.
I know I've seen him. I just...
Okay, I know where you've seen him from, I think. I'm going to guess. He was the sayer of the law in The Island of Dr. Moreau. What is the law? Not to eat meat. That's actually my impersonation of Bela Lugosi in the same character, and the older version of that.
Okay.
So you probably have seen him on The Twilight Zone in the episode Probe 7, Over and Out.
Okay. What's the plot on that? What's the plot on Probe 7? I know I've seen every episode of Twilight Zone, but I can't...
He is a astronaut who is... lands on a deserted planet, and there's a woman on the planet.
Oh, he's Adam and she's Eve, and is that the one?
I don't know. I've never seen it. It doesn't ring a bell for me.
Okay, well, let's move on. We're talking about Columbo, not Twilight Zone. So
yeah. Don't worry. We'll be talking about other sci-fi shows in a minute. Honor Blackman, who plays Nicholas's wife, Lillian Stanhope. Mm-hmm. You know where she's from. Her most popular role, of course. This is why it pisses me off that she got second billing to him. She got like fifth billing,
and she probably only got paid half of what he got paid too.
Yeah, it's a total X-Files thing. So she was X-Files. Remember how
Gillian Anderson?
Yes, Gillian Anderson. She was paid less than David Duchovny.
I did not know that, but that doesn't surprise me. So.
Yeah, and she was never allowed to walk in front of him. It was always had to be side by side.
Okay, back to Columbo.
Anyway, so Honor Blackman, you don't tell me you don't know. Okay, she's from two big properties. She was in a James Bond movie, and she was on the Avengers before this. Not the stupid comic book movie. I'm sorry, the comic book movie. But she was Pussy Galore in Goldfinger, like one of the best James Bond movies ever. She also played, I believe it was Emma Peel in The Avengers, which was a very popular show in England. Albeit, granted, it was not in the U.S., and at least not until later. But I mean, that would be
I didn't know that was her. Yeah, she should got very top billing. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't like some newbie actress. I mean, and she's still with us as well. She was also in a Doctor Who episode there, Steve.
Doctor Who?
For those of... Yeah, the show about science fiction. She was on the episode Terror of the Vervoids. Remember the one?
Yes.
She played the doctor or the professor or whatever. The annoying woman who yells all the time.
Back to Columbo.
Okay.
So, this episode takes place in London. There's a stage play of Macbeth. Actually, it's bad luck Macbeth for actors. I didn't know if you knew that.
Yeah, you can't mention the name of the play, otherwise you have to. Yeah,
it's bad luck. Yeah, they call it the Scottish play. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so there's a
here's a question. Did you ever have to read Macbeth?
I've never read Macbeth, but I've seen it.
You've seen it? Really?
I think we had to watch it in high school.
Okay, so you saw it like on TV?
Yes.
I would really love to see it, like in the theater. And
You
I
should see
I
the
say
David
that,
Tennant version.
No, he did Hamlet.
Was that Hamlet?
Yeah, I did Hamlet.
Oh, jeez. Okay, edit that out. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so they're performing Macbeth at the Royal Court Theater, which looks fancy wansky. But anyways, yeah, Lily's going to play the Queen, and Nikki, her husband, is
Nikki?
I guess. Mm-hmm.
Well, he's Macbeth. She's Lady Macbeth.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you
anyways,
know what Macbeth is? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Sean's had a couple martinis. Okay, go ahead.
There's this other guy, Sir Roger. He's an older guy who's the producer of Macbeth, and I guess he owns this theater. And so he, I guess Lily has been playing him on so that he can continue her career. And,
yeah. So
Oh, sorry.
Explain this to me, because I think I get the impression that Lily and Nikki are kind of a swinging couple because he's letting her sleeping around with this old man so they can, get money to do Macbeth and all that.
He's sleeping with the maid. Nikki's sleeping with the maid. She's sleeping with the old codger. Yeah. So, but yeah, so he comes in. I guess he realizes he's been played. So he confronts Lily. Nikki comes in, and they kill him. Now, my question to you is, maybe I missed it, maybe I blinked, but how did they kill Sir Roger?
Well,
she threw something at him, but you never see contact. You just see her throw something, and the next scene is he's on the ground.
It was a jar of cold cream.
Yeah, it'll do it.
Yeah, every time, that jar of cold cream. In fact, I think they're going to make an expanded edition of Clue where a jar of cold cream is going to be the seventh weapon.
Why don't they make a Clue version of Columbo? That would be awesome.
That would be awesome, but I could go on and on about that, but yeah. So there's a scuffle though, and it's an unplanned murder. And they.
Yeah.
This is one of those unplanned murders. Those not as fancy, elegant, Robert Culp type, fancy alibi type murders. And so what do they do?
Yeah.
They stick the body in a trunk. They try to avoid the annoying but somehow still adorable doorman Fenwick. I think his name is Joe Fenwick, who was the voice of Mr. Ages from The Secret of Nim, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. I recognized him from Buck Rogers.
Really? Okay. Cool. Awesome. Huh. And they take him out to his house and make it look like he fell down the stairs. After making it look like this is this case where they just try to, you know what? I think if they would have just called the police and say that they did it in self-defense, everything would have been okay.
I think they discussed that, but I can't recall. That's horrible.
Yeah, but
I'm pretty sure Nikki says something like that, but I can't remember what Lily says in regards to it. But anyways, so they decide they're going to cover their tracks. They're going to put Sir Roger in a trunk, and one of the first problems that comes into play is there's this it's like a maintenance guy or a plumber. I'm not real sure what he does around the theater.
It's Joe Fenwick. I just wanted you to be comfortable.
Yeah. I couldn't stand that guy. I don't know why. I was kind of
really.
Oh yeah. Oh, I thought he was annoying. That voice. Oh.
Okay. All right. Okay.
But I like the scene where they're doing the rehearsals after the murder. They're and Nikki and Lily are trying to figure out what they're going to do. What's the game plan? But all they know is that they put the body in that trunk. And so while they're doing their rehearsals on stage, it's the scene with the knocking, and that's that's in the Macbeth. That's the knocking scene. So Lily goes back to her dressing room and she hears knocking. And the first time I watched this episode, Sean, I thought that was Sir Roger knocking on the exterior or the interior of the trunk trying to get out. And no, it wasn't. It was just the plumber knocking. She walks into the room.
That would have been awesome. And then they had to kill him again. And then it was like quirky situation.
Oh, that would have been awesome. But yeah, I thought that was a play on the actual movie of Macbeth, or play of Macbeth.
Well, the whole thing is kind of a sort of a riff on Macbeth, because Macbeth is about a guy who is about a guy named Macbeth who is more or less manipulated by his wife into killing a number of people in order to get ahead in life. And I think they tried to make it a little bit like this, at least in one scene, but did not quite succeed. But okay, so we cut to the airport. And I got another one here for you, Steve.
Heathrow, yes.
Okay, Heathrow Airport. Okay, which happens to be one of my favorite scenes. But I got a question for you. The guy that played Sergeant O'Keefe, did he look familiar to you at all?
No.
Okay, so for those of you...
Should he have looked familiar?
Well, I didn't realize this. I've seen this like 20 times, and I've seen him in something else 20 times as well. For those of you who are Doctor Who fans, he played the Monitor in the Doctor Who episode Legopolis. Remember the Monitor? Mm-hmm. He was the head guy in that planet with the frizzy gray hair. It was him. That was him. You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
I'm trying to remember. I can't think of the guy. Sorry.
Okay. Well,
if I knew what Doctor Who was, that might help.
If you Google Doctor Who, the Monitor, his picture will come up, and you can tell that it's him. So
the Heathrow Airport, that definitely took place in L.A.
Yeah, that was total set down. That looked like a terrible airport, by the way.
And that's one of those scenes where I think it was Peter Falk riffing.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I think they just had a bunch of people go into a room and like just let Peter Falk do his thing. It was a funny scene because he's looking for his luggage. I guess his wife's luggage that was lost. And so he's looking for purple flowered luggage. Mm-hmm. Apparently that's like the big thing in the 70s because everybody's got purple flowered luggage. And people are like being really rude to him. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, he's looking at this one lady's luggage and he's trying to explain to her. And she responds by just pulling the luggage away from him.
Yeah.
And then he knocks that one lady's luggage over and she's all upset and he's trying to help her, but she's not listening to him. These jalapeno stuffed olives.
Nice.
Woo. Okay, sorry.
So we then after that we get a bunch of quick scenes of Columbo being the pushy American tourist. What do you think of that? Like with the camera?
I was gonna ask you the same thing.
I hated it.
Okay. You hated it? Really?
Yes.
Okay, it's obviously
and I kept thinking to myself, I bet you he didn't even put film in the camera, and he even says that at the end of the particular scene.
He, this is a 2-hour episode, about 2 hour when it was aired episode. But if you took out the padding of him sightseeing and all that, it would be much shorter. But frankly, I really like the scenes of him taking pictures and like pushing people around and
there's
trying to take pictures of the guard at Buckingham. And I think they're both adorable. And I like it. I really like that. I mean, we're not talking about the kind of shitty padding like in Make Me a Perfect Murder where he plays with, video games for a minute and a half. We're talking about like him in another country, doing stuff with real people.
I totally see Falk arranging his vacation time around this. He's taken his wife and his 2 daughters, and they're going around the UK, and they're having fun.
Yeah. And I don't think that anybody would have recognized him as Columbo.
There was a scene where he was taking a photo of the parade or whatever was going on, the changing of the guard, and there is a guy who obviously is not aware that he's on camera until he turns around, makes eye contact with the camera, and then scoots off as fast as possible. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I did not notice that. No.
Like he was surprised he was on camera, and he did not like it. It was great.
Yeah. Can I just say that I love the music in this episode too? They had some really good music in this, and that's all I got to say about that. I'm not a music aficionado. I just thought it was different sounding for Columbo and all that. Okay, well, then what happened? Oh, yeah, he's brought out to the house, to Sir Roger's house, by Superintendent Dirk. And by the way, Superintendent Dirk was mentioned in a later episode. Do you remember when?
I know we've discussed this.
Yeah.
Which one?
It was Columbo Cries Wolf. 20 years later, he mentions Superintendent Dirk in Columbo
That's
Cries
right.
Wolf.
Yes.
Yeah. So they go to the house, and, I love clues, and the clues start coming in. Now, we meet the butler.
Yes.
The butler, whose name is... I can't remember what his name is. Tanner. Played by Wilfred Hyde White. This guy look familiar to you at all?
Well, yeah, that's the guy from Buck Rogers.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Sergeant O'Keefe.
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So Tanner is played by this guy, Wilfred Hyde White. You will see him again in Columbo. He was played the judge in one of the many remakes of And Then There Were None, a little bit before this in 1965. Mm-hmm. He played the judge, a role that was also played by, in another remake, Donald Pleasance, as well as Charles Dance and John Barrymore. But Tanner becomes integral later on, but there's all these clues that Columbo sees.
Well, and can I also bring up that they also bring up, distant reference, Sherlock Holmes and Agatha Christie, which are obviously notorious murder mystery writer and character. So, I thought that was fun.
When did they bring up Agatha Christie? I know they brought... Oh, that's right.
Yeah. They did not bring up Angela Lansbury, though, unfortunately.
This is the only one of two Columbo episodes where I think Agatha Christie is mentioned. The other is Try and Catch Me, which we did last season. So, there's clues. I love clues. I love clues. There's the eyeglass clue. Why weren't his eyeglasses broken?
Oh, that was a great scene. Yes. So Columbo picks up that, where are the glasses? What condition were they in? Well, we don't know. And so he tells the chief superintendent, what a title,
Dirk. Yeah.
You might want to check into that. And so as he's talking to Tanner, the butler, you see in the background Dirk talking to one of the officers, like, I think we should look into the glasses. I thought that was interesting. That was funny.
Yeah, that was very good. And of course, the other clue is the book, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland,
first edition.
First edition on the cover, by the way. I've never noticed that before until I watched it for this. It says first edition on the cover.
What is that worth? Oh my god.
Yeah. And that was displayed on the table with the splayed such a way that it would break the spine. And
I'd be afraid to own something like that. Oh yeah.
What?
Would you hit me over the head with? Would you hit me over the head with a frying pan if I did that to your books?
Yes, I would. I hate that. I was one time my grandmother and her boyfriend. Yes, my grandmother had a boyfriend.
And
he's
a
dead
boyfriend.
Now. Yes, he's dead now. Came over to our house to visit one time. They were visiting from out of town, and he had a drink, and he put it on a book. A paperback book that was sitting on the coffee table, and I didn't lose it because they're old people. You gotta be, nice. And I was like, can you believe he fucking put his drink on my book? Ugh.
So back to Columbo. What are your thoughts of Lily and Nikki?
I loved them.
You loved them?
Oh, God. Well, not love them and,
I hated them. I mean...
Really?
I was really wanting Columbo to nail them. I hated them so much. They were so snooty and full of themselves. And, oh, God. I hated them so much.
There's not a lot of character development with them other than them being really cute between themselves and, running around and laughing and stuff like that, which...
That's what made them even worse.
Yeah. I thought that they looked like they were having fun, both as actors and as characters.
Yeah, but as character, yeah. I just, oh God, I wanted Columbo to get them so bad. So, anyways, I thought it was weird that they had the viewing of the body at the theater.
The day after the death. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
It was the day after the death. The timing of this episode is like literally just 2 days, and I never paid attention to that before. But he dies one day, and then they have the viewing of the body at the memorial at the theater. Oh, there was somebody else. I'm so sorry, Steve. There was somebody else in this that was in something else. Do you like the Jurassic Park movies? Do you like those?
I was about to say, is this Columbo? Okay, yeah, they're okay. I like Jurassic Park.
Do you like the Jurassic Park, The Lost World? That's the second one.
Was Peter Falk in that?
No, he wasn't. But Pete Postlethwaite was. And in that movie, he had a little sidekick whose name was Aja or Raja or something of that effect. And he was played by the guy who's the director of the play in this episode. So
okay, yeah, don't remember that at all.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it, ladies and gentlemen.
I will.
Okay. I'm sorry, where were we?
The viewing at the theater.
Okay, the viewing at the theater. And Columbo meets the murderer.
Yeah, so he finally meets Lily. And I think it's interesting because she's like, "Oh, you're American," and he's like, "Oh, yes," and she thinks he's a reporter, I guess. And he's like, "No, I'm actually a police officer." But what I don't understand, so it's interesting to her that he's an American because it's maybe something she doesn't see or hear every day, an American accent.
Yeah.
But if we jump forward to a couple of scenes where it's opening night, it's actually after the performance, and there's the opening performance party, and there's people that are coming up and congratulating Nikki, especially the scene where there's women, beautiful women, saying, "Oh, you did so great." They're all American. Mm-hmm. So how many Americans are watching this play? It's not like it's on Broadway or something like that, and it's not like it's in New York.
I think, yeah, you're right. I thought of that too. I'm like, are these people really English, or are they? I think they were American actors doing snooty accents, and they couldn't do British accents, which I found very curious. Mm-hmm. But there's a scene. Okay, we got to go to when do you think Columbo knew it was them? Not just one of them, but both of them.
Yeah.
When do you think? Okay.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't think there's as clear a definition of what was said, or maybe at this particular, maybe during what we're just discussing, the viewing, where one of the reporters says, "Oh, you just doing this for opening night to get more tickets." I don't know if that would be it, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think that he knew it was them when they showed up at Sir Roger's house the next day looking for a book that didn't exist. Okay, explain that to me, because I didn't understand. Why were they... So, Nikki was looking for a book of Macbeth with notes in it. So I didn't understand. It was a book that belonged to Sir Henry Irving, who was apparently a big Shakespearean actor, and it had notes in it. And okay, so Columbo was at Sir Roger's house. They're doing some, I don't remember what they were doing there at that point, but Nikki and Lillian show up in their little roadster, and Nikki says, "Well, I loaned Sir Roger this book, and I need you to find it for me." And their idea was that they would pretend that he loaned this book to them to make it look like somebody broke in and stole the book, and that's why they killed. Because remember, at the funeral, or at the memorial, Lillian overhears Columbo and Dirk talking about how they want to do an autopsy of the body. Okay.
Oh, so I gotcha. That's why. Okay.
They're worried that it's going to turn out, they're going to find out that he was murdered. So they have to make up an excuse for someone to break into the house and steal something. So they make up the story about him giving Sir Roger this book. And it's so stupid. Why would somebody break into somebody's house, kill him, just for this book and take nothing else? Which, of course, Columbo
obviously
brings up
it's
later.
a value, because Nicky even says it's worth, like, that's his retirement, is that book. If he needs
Yeah,
to
but
sell
who
it.
would know? Somebody who breaks in. Who would know that?
Like,
Who would-
I would steal the Alice in Wonderland first edition.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or some of the expensive tapestries. And during the scene in the after their performance where he's interrogating both of them, and they do this sort of montage where he goes from one to the other, and it's kind of cool. He actually mentions that, and I think the moment they show up at Sir Rogers looking for that book, he suspects them, and then he suspects both of them for sure. When he says, "Oh, you even use the same words, telling the same story."
Yeah, me and my wife, we can't agree on the same thing,
Yeah.
and you guys say the word exactly, word for word. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that was good, and he says it right before he walks out the door, and then leaves them like looking at each other, like, "What the fuck are we gonna do now?" Oh no, she says, "Oh, the nerve after that performance we gave." Okay, so.
So, during this, in the middle, we get another Columbo going to the sites. Chief Inspector, Superintendent, Admiral.
Dirk, yeah.
Takes him on another tour of London. I'm glad you liked it. I thought it was weird and out of place.
Why?
Where was Mrs. Columbo in all this?
This was a business trip, so she didn't come.
No, she was there.
No, she wasn't.
Yeah, at the very beginning. That was
No,
the
she
luggage.
wasn't.
He was looking for her luggage.
Well, he used her luggage, but she wasn't there. He actually says at one time, "I'm going to go back home and tell my wife I met a real live English butler. She'll be thrilled." She wasn't there.
Okay. I thought she was there.
No, this is a strictly business trip, which
So
is interesting.
So you agree that she wasn't there?
Correct. Oh, I know where you're going with this. Oh, don't you try to trap me. Don't you try to trap me.
So, so Columbo goes to this gentleman's club. He's going to eat some cheese.
Oh, here's my
Which looks
favorite
really
part.
nice. I would love to go have some cheese and cocktails. It looks wonderful. And that's when the autopsy guy shows up. It's so funny because Columbo, one of his tics is that he doesn't really have a stomach for blood. And so when the guy has the autopsy report, he passes it to Columbo, and he's trying to eat this lunch. He's starving. He hasn't eaten all day. And so he passes it to Chief Inspector, Lieutenant Admiral Dirk. And he's like passing it back and forth. I don't know. I thought that was a really funny scene.
I agree. I really like that scene, too. That was very cute.
It's like he's just trying to eat. Really? He doesn't want to see the details of how this guy died.
And the other two guys are completely oblivious to the whole thing. Yeah. I think there's this thing that English people must have, like, really dark humor and very strong stomachs and are used to murder and all that. And as Americans, I think that sometimes we really do think that you know, because there's, like, you know, the House of Horror, not the house, oh man, what's it called, the Black Tower over there, and, you know, anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna have some more martinis.
So let's talk about the individual characters. So with Lily, what'd you think of her? I know you like.
I thought,
but
okay,
Lily
I liked
them on her own.
Okay, so when we did Columbo Goes to College, you opined that the one guy was the one that was in control the whole time, and the blonde guy who's Coop, I can't remember their names.
Cooper,
now.
yeah.
Cooper was the blonde guy, and
he was a doofus, yeah, knocking up
the other
ladies
guy
left and right, yeah.
Yeah, that the other guy, Dustin, I can't remember his name, that he was in control the whole time.
Right.
That he, you know, was using Coop for his car to commit the murder. I really would have liked to have seen Lily be more of the one in control here. When they commit their second murder, when they kill the butler, you can tell that Nicholas has some second thoughts because he says, "Oh, do we really have to do this?" And she says, "No, yeah, you've got to do it." That's when they're tying the bike to the back of the car. Mm-hmm. And I think that could have been fleshed out more. Instead, they were just sort of like two halves of the same person.
Well, yeah, honestly, if we look at it, Lily was the one that killed Sir Roger.
Yeah.
And it was Nikki who was trying to cover for her. And I know at the very beginning, you know, the relationship, like you said, they might be swingers. You know, he's fooling around with a beautiful young blonde and
Miss Dudley.
And so really the only thing that Nikki is guilty of is trying to protect her. He doesn't do anything.
No, he kills the butler later on.
Well, yeah, but I mean, with how the whole thing starts, he's just trying to cover her tracks.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, you know what? If he had, see, the sad thing is okay. So they kill him with a bottle of cold cream. Or a jar of cold cream.
Well,
or
Lily
she throws
does.
it at him. Yeah, she doesn't intend to kill him, but it happens. And I think one of the
Well,
reasons...
it's total accident because when she throws it, it just shows Nikki ducking out of the way and poor Sir Roger being elderly and, you know, not as quick.
Well, he says to her later on, he says, well, you're the one that threw the bottle. And she says, well, you're the one that ducked. It doesn't really matter because he helps her cover it up later on.
Yeah. Accessory.
And he becomes an accessory. But I still think that if they would have gone to the police and you know said it was in self-defense, they would be okay. But arguably, they would be okay. But that means probably that they wouldn't be able to put on their play. So that may be a reason that they covered up.
Yeah, and they're very full of themselves. The scene where Columbo is doing the cross-examination between the two, like there's back and forth, asking the same question.
Great scene, by the way. I really like that, by the way.
I did too. I like that.
Yeah.
But Nikki, at one point, Nikki says to Columbo, it's when they're finally all three are in the same room. Nikki gets angry at Columbo, saying, "I'm starting to think we committed the murder." Mm-hmm. And Columbo picks up that he's offended him and says something along the lines like, "No, but you're." He compliments Nikki. I'm trying to remember exactly what he said, but he compliments Nikki and kind of strokes that ego, and that's really the downfall of at least that particular character.
Oh yeah. Well, Nikki's got some other problems too. I think one of them is that he's slowly going insane.
Yes. Yeah. Well, he definitely cracks at the end.
He is constantly quoting Shakespeare. And I thought that he was just being dramatic or, being pedantic or whatever. But now when I watch this again, I think that he was like he was guilty. Just like Macbeth was in the play. He couldn't wash the blood off his hands. And it was slowly driving him insane. Again, a parallel that they tried to make that wasn't really that clear. So
one of the big clues was there was raindrops on the two automobiles that were used. And then an umbrella that was used. Joe, the custodian, or I don't know what you would call
doorman. He's the doorman. Yeah.
Had an umbrella. Sir Roger had an umbrella. Picked up the wrong umbrella. And so Joe was carrying around the wrong umbrella. He had Sir Roger's. And there's a funny scene where Nikki is trying to obtain that umbrella back because that would be a big clue for Columbo, which was actually really funny. I kept thinking, just get him drunk enough and take it and leave, which is what he does.
That's what he does.
And there was a part where Columbo bumps into Joe and it's pouring rain.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this is a really horrible setup. You don't want to go up to somebody you don't know and grab them by the arm in the rain and the dark while someone's drunk. Like, you're going to get shot. Well,
that guy, exactly the way leave me alone, don't touch me. He says something like that. Yeah, I thought the exact same thing.
Like, why did Columbo do that? But, anyways. So Joe says to to Columbo. He goes, "Oh, somebody stole my umbrella. Must have been one of those young ones
with the long hair that does it."
It was probably Neil.
Neil.
From the Young Ones.
Oh,
Did you ever watch the Young Ones?
No, I've never ever. You know what? I'll watch the Young Ones. You watch the Avengers. How's that?
I think you'll enjoy the Young Ones more than I'll enjoy the
I've been told I would enjoy the Young Ones. I know it has the guy that played Adina's first husband in it. I can't remember. It's Christopher.
Adina's who?
From Absolutely Fabulous. The guy that played a centaur.
Oh, that was the short guy. That would have been
Christopher. His first name is Christopher, but I can't remember his last name.
He was also in that sci-fi show Dr. What or something.
Really?
Yeah, he played a centaur.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying. He's played a Centauran, and he also played a what was Syl? Syl's partner that had to get his brain transferred. Anyway, nobody cares about.
Was that like a Dalek or something?
Is that a who? Is it what?
He was. Okay, so everything comes to a final at the museum, the wax museum.
Oh wait.
Oh,
no, I know. I've got a complaint about something. I want to ask you about something. So,
okay.
After Nicholas meets Fenwick in the bar and steals his umbrella, we see the scene with Columbo and Fenwick outside in the rain. Okay, one of the few times Columbo's raincoat is actually used as a raincoat. But Columbo, he tells Columbo that somebody stole his umbrella. And then he goes, "Oh, I was in there with Nicholas Frame." And Columbo's like, "Oh, you were? You were in there with Nicholas Frame." Now, based on that, Columbo figures out that Fenwick picked up Sir Roger's umbrella and vice versa.
Yeah.
And therefore, Nicholas was with Fenwick to steal the umbrella and bring it to the world's worst wax museum.
Why is it the world's worst?
Did you see those wax sculptures? Anyway, we'll get that in a minute.
I thought they looked okay, but I've not been to many wax museums to really compare.
But he somehow makes that connection, which I completely do not understand at all. That did not make any sense to me at all. That was a huge leap in logic, and was not a good clue, because I like clues, but I don't like bad clues.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
What did you think of that? Are you on?
I don't know. There was a lot of scenes in here where I didn't understand where Columbo was able to deduce the plot or the whatever. Yeah, I didn't. This was one of those situations. Why couldn't Nicky just been having a drink?
Yeah. I know. Why does he have to jump to the conclusion that Nicky was up to something nefarious? I don't understand that at all. But you were saying the finale in the Waxworks Museum.
Right. Now, actually, I should rewind. There is a major part of this case that I want to discuss, and that's the butler. The tanner. Now, pretty much the case would have been solved if it wasn't for Tanner withholding evidence or information from Chief Inspector Admiral Captain Dirk. In Columbo. He would not... He even said to like Nicky and Lily that he would, mum's the word, I won't say anything. If this case would have been solved, he would have been honoring his, I think he called him his master, but the person he was butlering to,
his employer.
His employer, yep. But yeah, he was withholding information, and the only reason why was because he wanted to have a job. So he knew he knew what was going on the whole time. But I really got frustrated with the butler.
Because he was a dick. Well, no. Go ahead.
Well, no. So he ends up. I mean, why would you trust and believe in murderers that they're going to have your best interest in heart? No, they're going to kill you.
Yeah.
If you have information, they've already killed once, and you have information that will indict them, of course they're going to kill you too.
Now, we've had episodes like this before where there's somebody that finds out about the murderer and then they blackmail the murderer and they end up getting killed. Like the very first episode that we did, Lovely But Lethal, with the smoker, the secretary. But she was kind of like, she didn't come across as the brightest bulb in the chandelier anyway. There's others that we haven't done yet that do the same thing. But Tanner seemed to be kind of on top of it. And I love the fact that after his employer is dead, he decides that he's going to sit around in his employer's favorite reading chair and drink his whiskey. Did you catch that? Did you see that scene where...
No, is that where Columbo is ringing the doorbell and he's coming down? Is that it?
Yeah, and because he's upstairs drinking his whiskey, just sitting there, not watching TV, just drinking whiskey, took off his coat.
Hey, did you know sherry was a early in the morning drink? I did not know that.
I didn't know that either. That's true.
I need to get myself a bottle of sherry.
Yeah, for those of you who don't remember, when Tanner first meets Columbo, Columbo's looking at the whiskey and smelling the whiskey, and Tanner comes up, he goes, well, I wouldn't drink that before noon, perhaps a sherry or a something else, I can't remember what he says, but Tanner makes a very, very unwise move, blackmails this couple, and...
For a job.
For a job.
The guy's been working for how long? I mean, dude's like 90,
for
right?
many, many happy years.
I think he could retire now.
Yeah, you're right. He can keep his mouth shut and live very happily ever after. But I guess he has to insist on buttling somewhere. So they kill him by strangling him. Or actually, Nicholas kills him.
Do you like how he pushed him into the cottage?
Yeah, like, I've really had enough of you. You've really got to die. And in probably the episode's scariest scene, his body is found hanging from the rafters by the maid. And the next day, in the papers, it says the butler did it. Nothing comes off of this. There is no clue that is produced by the murder. It just sort of, it doesn't move the plot forward. I'm not sure why it was there. But Columbo is not convinced. So he immediately decides that he's going to go out and buy an umbrella, and somebody please drive him to the Waxworks Museum.
Right. And so this is one of those scenarios where, just like the episode you just mentioned, Columbo goes to college where he a student asks him if he ever plants evidence.
Oh,
this
God.
is the scene where Columbo plants evidence. So Columbo,
I'm thinking that, I think that Lillian and Nikki are going to go free thanks to Columbo.
Well, they had admitted to it. I mean, Nikki goes insane. He starts quoting Shakespeare, and I'm trying to remember what Lily says, but yeah, I think they pretty much.
She's the one that admits it. She says that he's mad, and it was an accident, and I threw the bottle at him, and all that.
But the Butler murder, that is not an accident. That was.
But they don't confess to that murder, and that was the murder that was pre-planned.
Yeah,
premeditated. I think that they're going to get off. They're not going to prison. They're going to get a nice solicitor or a barrister. I think it's a barrister in England. If they go to court, they're a barrister.
I'm embarrassed.
What did you think about the ending?
I don't like it when Columbo plants evidence.
I don't either. Yeah, it's not.
I was glad that Nikki and Lily both were caught because I hated them so much. I don't know. What did you think?
I liked the dramatic way that it ended with the music and, the confession and him going crazy. I liked that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
I don't like the planting of the evidence. The first thing that I thought was exactly what Dirk brought up. How could you know that there would be a bead in that umbrella? I think that they could have worked it out differently, where there actually was a bead in the umbrella, and not have so much, umbrella business maybe, and not have, of course, if there was a bead in the umbrella, then there would be no way of telling that. I mean, Columbo wouldn't know, so he couldn't bring them all there and stage this huge speech and then open the umbrella and let it fall out. I mean, that's such a risk. But maybe
she even said he planted it. But Nikki was gone at that point.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of medication in Nikki's future. Not a big fan of the ending, more or less. It was cute the way that he revealed how he did it. Like, you ever have a crush in the 2nd or 3rd grade and that little redheaded girl?
Yeah, what was that about? Oh my god. Yeah, he can flick a pearl into a goblet. That's nice.
Columbo wasn't talking about when he was in the 2nd or 3rd grade. He was thinking of a 2nd or 3rd grade girl. Because we've seen Identity Crisis and how he likes to talk to little girls. Okay. And also, there's something. Okay, there's something else that bothers me. They did something really wrong. Okay, so she realizes once they get the umbrella from Fenwick, from Joe Fenwick, they have to bring the umbrella to Sir Roger's house. And I think that they show up at the house. Nicholas distracts the butler with something.
Yeah.
And she tries to plant the umbrella in the closet.
Yeah.
And she realizes that his coat and his hat and all his other stuff is missing. And the butler explains that, they took his stuff to the Wax Museum.
Why? Who would do that?
If I were her, I would have just left the fucking umbrella right there in the closet instead of going through the trouble of breaking into the Waxworks Museum. No one's going to know that it's the other guy's umbrella.
Because that was a major clue, and they would say, who visited you that night? Why is this now here? You'd be like, those two showed up.
Well, I guess.
Lily and Nikki were here last night.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, there were little things that they could have done differently.
I just would have destroyed the umbrella. Like, I would have gone to Cardiff, at dump, and just would have burned it or something,
Yeah. Yeah. No one would have known. I mean, who else in the world would have known that Sir Roger was given an umbrella by Lady Astor that had a certain engraving on it? They could have just let it go. And they didn't. And they tried to fix it, and that became their undoing.
Yeah.
That kind of bothered me. The wax sculptures kind of bothered me. That is the worst wax museum I've ever seen.
I didn't think so, but there was a scene where they knock Sir Roger's wax head over. Like, what was that about? Like, I don't.
I guess
I thought that was going to be a clue, funny. But it wasn't.
No. His likeness was the best one in there. And then all the rest were like gypsies and pirates and shit like that. And the one that they had of Nikki and Lillian was terrible. It didn't look anything like them. It was terrible. Do you ever see Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
Recently, actually.
Yeah. Do you remember the scene where they go to the Alamo?
Yes.
And there's some mannequins of some Mexican people making tortillas, which, by the way, folks, that's not at the Alamo. Okay, picture your living room. The Alamo is a little bit bigger than that. And by the way, nobody that lives in Texas wants to go to the Alamo ever again. We hate it. But there is a waxwork.
You go once, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
The souvenir shop is bigger, 5 times bigger than the Alamo.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some cool things there. There's a guy that can tell stories and all that.
You can buy some pecans and
but
buckles
and right across the street from the Alamo, ladies and gentlemen, is
back to Columbo.
No. There's a segue. This is a segue into something. It's like Niagara Falls, the United States side. There's a Ripley's Believe It or Not museum. There is a Madame Tussaud's Wax Museum across the street from the Alamo. And those things in there looked better than the ones in this Columbo. So that's all I got to say. Please add whatever you want. I'm on martini number 4.
I don't know if I can add it. So let's review it.
Okay.
So what would you rate this one out of... Let's do an easy number tonight. 1 out of 10. Why'd you laugh?
I think you went first, so I'll go first this time.
What?
I'll go first this time. You know what? On paper, this is a pretty sucky episode. There's not a lot of clues. All the clues are given in the scene when Columbo shows up at Sir Roger's house and, sees that the glasses aren't broken, the Alice in Wonderland book and all that. And then after that, it's just a bunch of, them looking for an umbrella and Columbo jumping to wild conclusions and planting evidence. However, for some reason, I still really enjoyed watching it, and because of the location and, the sightseeing bits, the fluffy bits that they used for padding. I really enjoyed watching that, and I really enjoyed seeing Columbo interact with some of these English people. It is not a typical Columbo episode. I would not like to see... Peter Falk in an interview said that the network wanted to do another one where he went to Japan.
That would have been fun.
That's exactly what I think too. Columbo in Japan, I would be... Yeah, would it be like an electronics multimillionaire who commits a crime or something? But I kind of enjoyed it, despite the fact that this is not a really good, mystery episode. So I'm going to give it a very weak 7. Okay?
Out of 10.
And this is not a popular episode among Columbo fans, by the way. People hate it. I probably for the reasons that I brought up, but I'm not sure. So, yeah, that's what I have to say. And you?
Yeah.
You good, sir?
Okay. Well, this particular episode, I typically like the older, especially the ones from the 70s episodes. But the problem with this one is if you take away the whole thing that he went to another country, went to London, and did the whole sightseeing thing, if you take that out and you made this a normal Columbo and just concentrate on those scenes, I don't think you have a very strong episode.
You are absolutely right. That is yes, that's it exactly.
The actors that were in this, there was a lot of, while I didn't know them by name, I recognized them, like the butler, the commander-chief, lieutenant, detective, whatever. There were other British actors that I recognized randomly. I couldn't tell you what they were from, but it was nice to see them. That was fun. But yeah, it's not a strong episode. And it's funny, I was kind of coming up with a number myself while you were talking. But I agree. I think I would give this a 7 out of 10. It's not the worst Columbo I've ever seen. Not. But it's
above average.
Yeah,
do you agree that
slightly.
It's enjoyable to watch?
It's enjoyable, yeah, but it's slightly, and I don't like how Columbo comes up with the clues. I don't know.
You don't like the planting of the evidence. Yet, last episode, when he let go a murderer, we had another double murderer team last episode, with Faye Dunaway and Babylon 5 girl. He let her go so he could put the other one behind bars.
But I don't know why I could say that was more.
You really liked that, and that bothered me. Not that you didn't, that you liked it.
I typically don't like it when Columbo lets somebody go either, but yeah, this one just seemed kind of average, a little above average. It was neat to see. It was neat to see the sights and stuff, but I don't know.
Maybe, you know what? You just make me change my score for those of... If anybody listening to this, I'm going to change mine to a 6. A strong 6.
I made you drop it? Oh
you
my
made
God.
me drop it. You made me drop it. Because,
Jeez.
Enjoying the scenery is not a really good reason to like something.
Like, some of the things that I didn't like. I didn't really like Joe, the maintenance door guy.
Okay.
I don't know. I found him annoying. I thought it was funny. I have to admit, what I did find humorous was the language barrier. So there were scenes where
Yes.
Columbo was talking about something. He had something explained to him at the very beginning when they go to the house. There's a sergeant, a constable, whatever you want to call him.
The local constable, and he's like, well,
He's like, is he speaking English? Because I have no idea. It's just so
Did you understand what he was saying?
Well, I did roughly, but I mean, yeah, honestly, it was all Cockney and not much sense. But
there was nice touches
were,
to that scene. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, there was another part where Columbo starts to notice, well, there's raindrops on the car hood, and Nikki says, the hood? Oh, the bonnet. So there's those kind of...
yes, you're absolutely right, yes.
Or the scene where they go to the gentleman's club, and Columbo starts talking about, oh, my father belonged to the Elks Club. and Dirk is like, what? Like, he gives him a look like, what are we talking about? Like, there's that barrier. That was funny. Those scenes...
Yeah. The Elks Club is completely not anything like what we see here. Yeah, the Elks Club is it's like the VFW or something, I think.
Right.
I agree. There were lots of fun things in here. We talked about him not wanting to look at the autopsy photos. Mm-hmm. It was great because it was great Columbo without all the usual Columbo stuff. He probably mentions the wife twice. Obviously, there's no dog, there's no car. At this point, it's good. In terms of Columbo, it's pretty good. But you're right. If this was set in L.A. and we had 2 movie stars committing a crime, it would be
which is every other Columbo, by the way.
yeah. I totally agree with that.
I mean, Columbo, he's at the funeral or at the viewing, and he's asking for tickets to the show. I mean, really? I don't know. I may raise it to a 7.5. You lower it to 6. I'm gonna raise it to 7.5 now because I'm thinking of all those funny scenes. So. All right.
I actually didn't know that we could do halves, so I would do 6.5.
6.5. Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
kids.
All right.
Before we spin the wig and wheel of the 90s. Wait, I have one question for you, Steve. You actually watched this before, right? This is one of the few that you watched before.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I did watch this before. I don't know why I picked this episode, but I started drinking, and I don't remember. Like, I remember the first half, but I did not remember the
Oh, okay, I understand.
the end of it at all. Like, I couldn't remember how Columbo, got to where he solved the case. So it was nice to actually watch it again and figure it out.
That's fine. So, kind of like me with this episode that we're recording right now, in other words. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to remember this.
Okay. So we got an email from a gentleman named Russell. And hold on, it's titled "Some Thoughts on Your Podcast." Okay,
great. I love feedback where people can give us their thoughts and critiques. Can't wait.
All right. Well, okay. Well, fasten your seatbelt. He says, "Hi guys, I have enjoyed listening to your Columbo podcast.
Good.
I've been a fan of Columbo since I first saw it on TV in 1971 when I was 16.
Wow.
I listened to the other 2 Columbo podcast shows, and I thought both were fun to listen to." He means the other 2 Columbo podcasts.
Right.
I have all the DVDs and usually fall asleep to Columbo at night. Here are the thoughts from a 62-year-old Columbo fan and what I'd like to hear from you.
Uh-oh.
First, okay, maybe this is about you, Steve. No. First,
What?
I know that I believe that Columbo is married, has kids, and a ton of relatives. I believe every one of his stories and have no doubt they exist in the Columbo universe. I don't know about every one of his stories, but okay. I believe it from several episodes where he talks to someone on the phone, and especially from the loving way he talked to Suzanne Plachette in Dead Weight. I love watching Columbo because it's like a history lesson. I love watching the cars in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I wish I kept that Mustang. This, by the way, is another good one with cars. But I don't know anything about cars. You know a little bit about cars. What was the one where you were talking about cars? I don't know.
Don't know.
Mention them. Oh, he says mention them once in a while.
The cars?
Yeah, okay. I also find watching the background for what LA looked like back then is fun.
Yeah, I think that's fun too.
Like the lady with the big boobs in the airport that you pointed out in the Robert Culp episode that we did. Then things like the way that they talk down to black people, like in A Friend Indeed. People put out cigarettes on the ground, looking at phone booths, all of that stuff. Okay. What? No, we do that. Well, maybe he then thinks we don't do it enough. One of the previous podcasts looked at it from the point of view of a new viewer. Screw that. I want you guys to know what you are talking about.
Well, admittedly, I am a new viewer.
Yeah.
Sean's has been watching this, and he introduced it to me, so I had no experience with the show until I met you.
Well, he says he wants us to know what we're talking about. I never knew that I never know what I'm talking about when we do this. I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about now, as a matter of fact.
Oh, yeah, we were riffing the whole time. None of this is... Yeah.
You should do as much detailed research as possible.
Oh, God.
There are a lot of websites about Columbo out there. And do not hesitate to have a couple of interns right there with you on the air looking things up when you don't know the answer.
We don't get paid anything to do this, by the way, do we?
We do this out of the kindness of our hearts. Steve and I are 200 miles away from each other. We don't have interns. We're not Gilbert Gottfried and Dara Gottfried. Really, we don't have any idea what we're doing. We're just a couple of man-children watching Columbo and then getting together on a given Saturday or Sunday night and recording this podcast for you fun people. Yeah, having fun with it. Okay. I like the way you mentioned who's still alive and who isn't. Okay. Every little bit of trivia about an episode is great for us. And then he said, do you believe George C. Scott is in one of the shows? Yes, he is, sir. Yes, we actually did that. That was Make Me a Perfect Murder, where he plays a television technician. And he's probably got about 20 seconds of screen time, but he was there. Over the last 47 years, I've probably watched each episode at least 100 times, some of them even more. So when you mention something that I never noticed, that's really fun for me. Well, that's pretty cool. I like that. I like saying that cool. We've noticed, I love just about every minute of each show. Well, see, this was just sort of a dark email. It just sort of took a proper turn. It took a happy turn. Now I'm happy. I love just about every minute of each show. And I'm one of the guys who doesn't mind all of the padding. I understand why they did it, money, and most of the time I think they are fine. You guys didn't seem to know who Myrna Loy was. And that was very depressing to me. I know that Myrna Loy is an actress, or was an actress. Was she in this, and we didn't mention it? I don't know. Okay. Make sure you take the time to know who these old-time actors are. Myrna was the biggest star in her time. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask Russell.
We'll figure
and then Russell gave us his phone number, which I am not going to read. So yeah, all right. Thank you, Russell. That was nice of you to email us because we appreciate that input.
So you need to know your shit, Sean.
This is why I was extra sure. I was extra careful to go and go on the IMDb and see what people were in. And for the record, just about everybody in this is dead except for Honor Blackman, because women outlive men all the time. Where's my phone? Okay.
Well, there was a lot of older guys in this one too, so.
Yeah, there were a lot of old, and you know what? People back, they were probably all smoking off stage too.
Oh yeah,
smoking.
Definitely.
God, I freaking miss smoking. I wish it wasn't so bad for you. All right. So at this point, this is the time in the episode when, Steve, I ask you to spin the Wiggin wheel of the 90s.
All right.
We've got 14 left.
Oh, God, the 90s. Oh, Jesus.
You like the last one. What are you talking about?
I know. Actually, I'm kind of like... it's growing. The 90s are growing on me, so...
All right. So, it's going to be A Bird in the Hand, starring...
Okay. Not seen that one.
Greg Evigan and Tyne Daly.
Wait a minute. I know that name.
Yeah, she was in Undercover.
I don't want to.
I'm not going to say. It's been years since I saw this one.
Bird in the Hand.
A Bird in the Hand. Just One More Thing podcast just actually did this one, and they've got like 5 episodes left. So yeah, I'm not going to say what they said about.
Wow.
No, total. They have 5 episodes left of all of them total. So A Bird in the Hand. Okay. All that I remember of this, I know I remember more of it. I'm not going to tell you what I remember about it, but all I remember is that there's a clue involving a cat.
Is it worth 2 in a bush?
Only a bird is worth 2 in the bush. All right, Steve, I think we've talked about Columbo enough. I'm going to go have 1 or 2 more martinis and then probably crash. And Steve, what are you going to do for the rest of the night?
I'm probably going to go watch Bird in the Hand with Tyne Daly, because she's an amazing prostitute. Or is. So she's in a 90s episode again. Was this back-to-back?
No, it was not. This was, I believe, before she was in Undercover. I didn't want to say more about the episode, but yeah. It's interesting.
Okay, well, there we go. All right.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
All right, good night. Thank you for listening to the Columbo Confab podcast. To email us with a comment or question, write to columboconfab@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @ColumboConfab, and look for us on Facebook. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us some happy reviews on iTunes.
I love clues.
Hello, I'm Sean, and I'm the host of the 1001 Movies podcast, based on the book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. Each episode, I randomly pick a film from the book and spend about 10 minutes talking about its director, the cast, the genre, and my personal thoughts on the merits of the film. Each delicious yet bite-sized episode contains information about a film from practically any genre, any country, or any year. Check us out on iTunes, and we'll send you free cookies. Some restrictions apply.